Hi there, I'm Richard of Medusa Games. This is a short video to show you the setup and basic gameplay of the game Nine Worlds, which will be out October 2016. What you see before you is an advanced prototype prepared in readiness for UK Games Expo in early June 2016, but it is approaching the final version. The game comes with a board, and the board represents the 9 worlds of the Norse and Anglo-Germanic mythology, including such worlds as Midgard, Asgard, Niflheim and so forth. The board also represents certain elements that are not considered part of the 9 worlds for the game rules purposes, such as Helheim, the underworld, and Valhalla, heaven and hell if you like. There is also a turn number track here and a player order track on the far side of the board over there. You give each player the pieces for their setup. This setup is done for 4 players. You can play any number of players from 2 to 6, so there are different suggested setups, and you can do a random setup. This is a suggested 4-player setup. So you give the players their player piece representing their presence in the 9 worlds. You give them a disc that represents their action used to track action points. Another disc is placed on the scoring track, another disc on the turn order track. You give them 25 stones in their colour, one of which is placed on their player card, the other one on their home world. And every player does that, you are basically good to go. Now, in 9 worlds you play to score victory points, which are tracked on this track around the outside of the board. The action points are scored typically on turns 3, 6 and 9, turns which are highlighted in a darker colour on the turn track here. A typical game length is suggested to be 6 turns. You can play a 3-turn game as a sort of tutorial and teaching game to get the hang of the game. 6 turns is more of a standard game lasting around about an hour to a quarter or so. The 9-turn game is more like a couple of hours, perhaps 2.5 at times. Depends on the number of players and how analytical they are, shall we say. Now, so normally we tend to play 6-turn games, a nice hour to hour and a quarter sort of game, and we're trying to score. Now we score on turns 3, 6 and 9 in the long game. What do you score? You score by there's a little chart here on the summary card that tells you get a point for every stone that is on your card. You get a point. You get 2 points for every stone that is anywhere in the 9 worlds. You get 3 points for a world where you dispute control, which means that no other player has more stones than you, but you're tied for the leadership. So a world which would be disputed would be this one, where blue and red both have 2 stones, green has 1. Blue and red would both count that as a disputed world, green wouldn't. You get 3 points for that sort of a world. Note that avatars break ties in the favour of the player concerned. So in that situation, that would then become a red-controlled world. Blue and red both have a stone there, but red's avatar is present. That breaks ties in favour of red. Red controls that world, and that would score red 5 points, because a world that you control gets you 5 points in the scoring phase. You get a point for every world that you are on. So in this situation, red is on 2 worlds, so would score 2 points. Finally, you get a -2 points for any stone which has been banished down here to Helheim. So that's what you're trying to do, score points in that way. In the game, you can also score a bonus couple of points as a result of battles that you have won in certain situations, but we'll come to that. Okay, so how do you go about achieving that then? Well, the game is played in a number of turns. In a turn you have a number of action points which are summarised on the chart under action pool here. In a 4-player game, every player has 7 action points at the start of the game, so we would set these tracks to 7 points. However, if you lose control of your home world, which means you don't have you don't have control, or you don't have the majority control of it, then you lose a point, and you will go down a point and only have 6 in a 4-player game. The points vary dependent on the number of players. In addition, in a 4 to 6 player game, there are bonuses for the player who goes first, and in the case of a 5 and 6 player game, there are bonuses also for a player who goes second. This is to compensate for the fact that players often find that they are at a drawback if they go earlier in the turn sequence. It doesn't always work out that way. Certainly, it is possible to play the game and win as first, often going as first player, but there is an advantage for going last in a turn order sometimes. So we compensate for that. So it could be in this 4-player game, the first player is blue, so he would have 8 points. Everybody else would be on 7 points on their track. Okay, so we put out all the other 3 to 7. He would be on 8 points. Now, what do you do with your points? Well, that's summarised here on this little action point chart. For 1 point, you can move a stone from your reserve. Any stones that are just here on the table are worthless and considered to be worth 0 points. It costs an action point to move it to your palace or your player card, at which point it now is worth a point in the game. But anyway, it costs a point to move it to there. It costs an action point to move a stone from the player card to the world that your avatar is on. Not to your home world, but to the world your avatar is on. The avatar is summoning in the army, if you like, onto the world that he is on. It's always cheaper to move stones to where the avatar is on. It costs 2 points to move a stone to a world the avatar is not on. Okay, so that will be a world that will cost 2 points. It costs a point to move one of your own stones between adjacent worlds. These lines on the board show which worlds are adjacent to which. So it is possible to move a stone from Muspelheim to Midgard for a point, and for another point onto Nidavellir. You can move your avatar also for a point, and finally, if you've got a stone banished in Helheim, you can spend a point to bring that back to your reserve. In Helheim, it costs you 2 points. Here, it is worth 0. So sometimes it is worth doing that just so that it isn't giving you a penalty come the scoring phase. Those are the 1 point actions. Our 2 point actions are to move a stone. The 2 points, of course, it costs to move a stone onto a world that you are not on. It costs 2 points to move an opponent's stone. So it is possible to move opponent's stone. So if I'm the red player and I'm trying to move the blue stone, it costs 2 points to do that. I can make that cheaper for me by being physically present in the world. So if my red avatar is present in that world, then that will cost just 1 point to move a stone. The blue player can defend against that by being present in that world. That will then cost 3 points for me to move his stone. And if we're both present, we cancel each other out and it's back down to costing 2. It costs 2 points to move another player's avatar away from a world. You don't have to be present, you can do it anywhere, but it costs 2 points to do that. Finally, it costs 3 points to banish a stone directly to Helheim. There are world powers which we're going to come to, which will allow you to do that anyway. But if you wish to do it as part of your action points, you can spend 3 points to move a player's stone to another into Helheim. So that goes from giving them 2 points worth of value here and perhaps contesting a world to be worth -2 and obviously not contesting worlds anymore. So it might just be worth it on occasion. However, you can make it cheaper by being present with your avatar. So that brings it down to 2 points to banish that stone. The other player can defend against that by having his own avatar there, which puts it back up to 3. And once again, if both avatars are present, you cancel each other out and it costs back down to 3 points to banish that stone. These are all summarised on the cards. Okay, so people sometimes say, what's the point of an avatar? What does it actually do? Well, it does several things. It makes it cheaper to bring a stone onto the world that he is on. 1 point where he is on, 2 points where he is not on. It makes it cheaper to move other players' stones. It makes it more expensive for somebody to move your own stone. So there's a defensive action. And finally, it breaks ties in your favour if you are present in a world. So the avatar does have quite a powerful effect on the game. And in the advanced version of the game, where we're using avatar powers, the avatar's presence is usually where the power can be can be used, can be exercised. Okay, so that is the action points. So what you do is in player order, you go around the board spending your action points. So it would be blue, then it would be green, then it would be red, well, then it would be orange. Why is it that order, I hear you ask? Well, at the start of the turn, we set the player order, and we do that by first of all asking the question: Does anybody control have more stones in the 9 worlds than anyone else? Well, at the start of the whole game, everybody has 1 stone in the 9 worlds, so we're all tied. Then we say, who controls the most worlds as a tiebreaker? Well, we each control 1 world, so again, there's no, we're all even. So in that scenario, what we do is we simply go in number order. So world 2 comes before 3, comes before 7, comes before 8. So that's how we set the order at the start of the game. And if we have to, during every turn of the game, we do the same exercise. We count the stones. How many stones has everybody got? Okay, if there's a tie, who controls the most worlds? If there's still a tie, you go in number order of the worlds. Okay then. Now, so that's the action points spent. Once we've spent the action points, we go into what is called the world powers phase, and the phases of the turn sequence, by the way, are explained in the top left-hand corner here. So we've already done the player order bit. We've sorted out our action points, and we have spent our action points. The next phase is battles and world powers phase. So what we do there is we look at any world and we say, do any of the worlds have more than 5 stones present? So let's stack a few stones into a world, like that, for example. So this is a world where there are more than 5 stones present. There are in fact 5 red stones and 2 blue stones. A battle occurs, reducing the number of stones down to 5. Not below 5, but to 5. The worlds can sustain only 5 stones at the start of the world, at this phase. So what you do is you remove the stones, and you remove the stones in player order, which is another reason why going first gives you a disadvantage. So blue would come off first, and we ask the question, are there more than 5 stones? Well, yes, there are. So red comes off, are there more than 5 stones? No. So then we say, does anybody have majority control of that world? Well, clearly there are 4 red stones and 1 blue stone. Clearly red controls that world. And what we do is we move one of red stones up to this little power circle here to show that world power is going to activate in a moment. Now what we do in the world powers phase is we work world by world. So we look first of all at world 1, then we look at world 2, then we look at world 3 and 4 and so on, until we've determined all the battles, resolved all the battles, and we have determine who has the world powers, and we've marked our world power circle. So we do that for all 9 worlds first. Then we go through the worlds, activating the world powers in number order. So world 1 goes first, then 2, then 3 and so on, until finally you get to world 9. Now what happens to the stones though that came off as a result of the battle? Well, blue lost the battle, so its stone just goes straight back into its reserve, it's destroyed. Red lost a stone in a victorious cause. So this is considered to be the victorious dead, and that stone is carried by the Valkyries to Valhalla. So it goes up here. Only 1 stone per battle will get carried to Valhalla, so you can't overstack a world just to try and get lots of stones into Valhalla. Only the one in the first victorious stone goes to Valhalla, and we'll come to what happens to that in a moment. Anyway, so we've dealt with the battles, and then we say, okay, are any of the world powers active? Well, yes, at the moment 1 is, Jotunheim, and so we activate the world power. And as I say, you do the world powers in number order. So what are the world powers? Well, world power 1 is summarised on the little chart here. World power 1 is the Asgard power. Now this is summarised in the word protect, basically a little symbol of a shield here. What that means is that the person who plays Asgard may neither be affected by nor use any world powers this turn. So when you are the Asgard, if you've got access to the Asgard power, you have a choice to make. You either use the Asgard power to be immune from the effects of world powers, or you forego it in order to use the other world powers. You can't do both. You either come down off your divine perch and use the other powers of the worlds, or you stay nice and safe in Asgard behind your shield. Okay, so that's Asgard. The Valhalla, the Vanaheim power allows you to bring a stone back from Helheim to any of the 9 worlds. If you don't have a stone, or you don't want to move somebody else's stone, well, there aren't any stones in Helheim, then you simply take 2 stones and place it on your player card. It's a good way of getting stones onto your card. The Alfheim power is the ability to move a stone for free twice, or 2 different stones once, and it doesn't matter what player they are, just 2 moves of any stones, one stone twice or 2 stones once each, from any of the 9 worlds to any of the other 9 worlds, along adjacent lines though they have to be. Jotunheim is a steel power, so you take a stone, put it back on the player's card and replace it by one of your own stones from your player reserve. So it's a good way of getting extra stones on the board. But it has to be where the player has a stone. The Midgard power is exchange. You can exchange one of your own stones with one of the other player's stones anywhere on the 9 worlds. Yes, it is 2 moves, just like the Alfheim power, but it doesn't have to be adjacent worlds, so it could be there to there. And often it's a good way of actually changing the balance of power on two worlds. The Nidavellir power is the ability to add a stone onto the board anywhere. So you just drop a stone from your reserve onto any of the 9 worlds. Muspelheim allows you to destroy 1 stone. So you can either let's put a few stones on. You can either remove 1 stone and send it back to the player's reserve, destroying it, or you can take 2 stones off and send them back to the player's player card. That could be 2 separate players' stones. The Svartalfheim power is the ability to spend 2 points as if that you had 2 extra bonus points on these action points, but you do it right there and then. So you say, I'll do 2 moves, or I'll bring another stone on the board, or I'll add 2 stones to my card, or I'm going to move my avatar twice, or whatever you might want to do, costing you 2 points. The Niflheim power is the ability to banish any stone from the 9 worlds to Helheim. Those are the powers. After we've done the world powers phase, we move to the Valhalla phase. We look to see if there's any stones in Valhalla, and those stones go to the player's home world, in this case the red world here, and red will score 2 points on the action track as a bonus. Remember I said there were bonus points you could get as a result of winning a battle. So sometimes if you're trailing behind a bit, but you can manipulate a battle or 2, you might be able to catch up a little bit by fighting a battle, but losing casualties in a glorious, victorious, typically Viking, Germanic way. Okay then, that is the scoring track, the Valhalla phase. Now we do a scoring phase only though if we're in turns 3, 6 and 9. Otherwise we just ignore that phase. On the turn end we would just move on the marker, unless it is turn 9, in which case it is game over, and we see who do the final. We do the final scoring, and then we see who's won. Now, what you score as per the points that we've already been over there. So you do that just in player order. You go through all the scores and you see where everyone can be. It is not uncommon in the scoring phase for someone to be a fair way behind another player, but it is possible, certainly in the long game, when you've got 2 more scoring phases, sometimes even in the short game, for a player trailing behind to catch up. Perhaps with a bit of cooperation between the players in order to peg back the leader a little bit. Right, that basically is the 9 worlds. There are, I mentioned avatar powers earlier. On the reverse side of these cards we will have more powerful powers that the avatars can use, like bonus powers they can use in the game, but we won't be using that in the basic demo. So that is 9 worlds. Hope you want to check it out. It'll be on demo at UK Games Expo 35th of June, and it will be available to purchase and pre-order via the Medusa Games website. Is already in fact available for pre-order, and will be on sale at Essen Spiel in October this year. Check it out.